Let's unload some groceries while I tell you how and why I started my business as a mom of 2-year-old twins at the time. I know that sounds crazy, and it felt crazy 5 years ago when I started that business. But it's amazing how my business grew over the years. What is now an online course sales business started as a home bakery. So just a little bit about me. Now, as of right this moment, my business is a course sales business where I sell digital courses, which are like, if you've never taken a digital course before, basically you purchase access to a set of teaching, and it's like an online class. You know, people used to order tapes in the mail from like Tony Robbins, or I've heard my grandmother mentioned when she was younger, they would order the physical cassette tapes to receive like clogging tutorials. That ain't how I say clogging. Clogging tutorials. That's a type of dance if you're not from Appalachia. But basically, it's purchasing a class and it gives you access to these videos and materials that help you learn a skill. For me, that's teaching sugar cookie decorating and how to have a business decorating really, really pretty sugar cookies. But that is not how it started. I did not set out to create a course creation business. I honestly thought that I would have my own bakery one day. That was kind of the plan. And you know the saying, if you want to make God laugh, make a plan. Tell him your plans. And that's just been my whole life story. My whole intention was to become a school teacher. I majored in elementary education when I went through college, and that was my whole goal, was to become a teacher. And then I became a teacher and said I wasn't going to have any kids until my first year of teaching was over. And then God laughed at my plans, and thank the Lord he did. I'm so glad. But I found out I was expecting that first year teaching. I taught from August to September before I had to go to my principal with my tail between my legs and say, hey, Miss Jackson, you know how I said I wouldn't need a maternity sub this year? Well, anyway, I found out I was pregnant, and not only was I was pregnant with twins, which we found out a little bit later. So God really, really surprised us there. I'm gonna put this chicken in the freezer. I found a really good deal on this at the Pig today, the Piggly Wiggly in Collinwood. This is $3 a pop for chicken tenders, $3 a pound. I think $3.36. So I went on and bought up a bunch. While it was on sale. And now I'm putting it in the freezer to use at a later time. But anyway, that just kind of, my best laid plans, turns out they weren't what I expected. So I taught for a little while after my kids were born. I had 2 boys, Miles and Noah, and I taught for about a year while my very wonderful mother-in-law and mother and sister-in-law kept my boys on an alternating schedule. We had the dream childcare situation, y'all. We alternated days between my mom and my mother-in-law, and my sister-in-law kept them on Wednesdays. They're all incredible women who I trust, not just with my life, but with my babies. So, I mean, even in that most ideal situation, I still felt like my babies weren't getting the best of me. And I would often just spend so much time at work pouring into my kids at work, and then I would come home and feel like my kids were getting the leftovers and getting the kind of burnout, tired version of mom that I didn't want to be for them. Alright, we're going to turn this up, crank it up on high, add some butter, and we're going to cook up a whole bunch of chicken all at the same time. And I'm making marinated chicken tonight, but only some of my chicken is actually going to get the sauce on it. The rest of it is going to get grilled and used as meal prep for the weekend and the rest of the week. So, where did we leave off? Okay. We were talking about leaving my teaching career. So I came home, I was staying home with my babies, and I loved staying home with my babies. I still do. I still stay home with my kids, and I homeschool now. So obviously I love being with my kids and spending time with them. Beans, seriously, man? Leave. I'm trying to film a video. Beans is my cat, not my child, so don't judge me. I can tell him to leave the room and not feel bad. But anyway, I'm laying my chicken out on paper towels to dry because I feel like it just gets crispier that way. I don't know. Am I wrong? Does anybody else do that? I just feel like it's crispier and has a better texture. Oh, okay. There we go. So I love staying home with my babies. And while I was staying home with them, I started looking at videos on Instagram, because this was back in, goodness, 2019. It was before TikTok. It was before really even short form video content. There were a few clips on Instagram, and it led me to some YouTube creators who were creating videos about sugar cookie decorating. And I thought that looks fun. You know, maybe I need a little bit of a hobby because I've been cleaning baseboards lately. Not that there's anything wrong with cleaning your baseboards. Not that cleaning your baseboards means you need a hobby. But for me, it did. For me, I was just getting a little bit neurotic, a little bit cooped up, I guess you could say. And like I said, I love being home with my babies. I wasn't bored. There was plenty to do. But I did miss that creative outlet. I missed the creativity that came with being a teacher. I missed decorating the door. I missed decorating the classroom. I missed organizing things, which, I mean, there's plenty of organizing to be done in a home, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, I did feel that pull to just have something that was just for me, to help me reconnect with who I was. I struggled with postpartum anxiety really, really badly. I didn't realize how bad it was at the time, but now looking back, I go, oh my goodness, bless my own heart, because the postpartum anxiety was so, so very bad. Let me go wash my hands. Okay. We're setting our oven. Okay, I just set my oven to 425 because we're doing dinner in a hurry tonight. And I've got my highest rack on the top setting so that everything will get done really quickly. And I'm fixing to chop up some potatoes and make potatoes. I don't say it like that. I'm chopping taters. I'm just going to use my real voice on here with y'all. I hope that's okay. I hope y'all don't think I'm unprofessional or like too country to build you a pretty website or whatever, but I'm getting real with y'all. I'm over the fake mess on social media. I'm over everybody trying to be something they're not, and I'm just going to be real with y'all and tell y'all the real behind the scenes of what I'm doing. I'm chopping taters. They've got a bunch of eyes on them because I bought them a while back and they've been in my basement. And now I'm taking them out and we're going to have french fries tonight. Oven baked french fries. Because I do not have the time, energy, or bandwidth to mess with grease this evening and actually fry them. So that's what we're doing. Okay. So I loved the creative outlet that I was finding in watching these YouTube videos about cookie decorating, and I thought they were so pretty, just the aesthetic of it. I would watch people paint on cookies with food coloring, and I thought it was gorgeous. And so I started watching some of these creators, and some of them were talking about selling these cookies, and they were naming these astronomical prices. I was like, there's no way anybody around here is going to pay for cookies like that. You know, nobody's going to actually pay that much money for cookies. Turns out I was wrong. People did want to pay for cookies. And I thought I was crazy. My family thought I was crazy. They didn't say it to me at the time. But since then, different members of my family have been like, hey, I wasn't sure how that was going to work out for you. but I'm glad it did. Anyway, so I learned the craft of cookie decorating. I kind of did a lot of figuring out on my own. There were several tutorials on YouTube, but there was a lot of piecing it together at that time. So I did a lot of piecing together and a lot of figuring out on my own, especially when it came to the beginner stuff. And so I got to watching just some different business stuff, and I started watching Dave Ramsey. I listened to the podcast a lot. And me and my husband had this goal of paying off our debt. We wanted to pay off my car. So this is still the car that I'm driving, which doesn't have a car payment because of my first business and my husband's hard work, of course. It wasn't just me. But we worked really hard. I sold some cookies, and that cookie business grew to the point that I didn't realize it at the time, but I was at the point where I had to decide, okay, am I going to scale this thing? I started with a Facebook page. I started with 1 or 2 orders, and that pretty quickly grew into me doing more cookies than I could manage. So I hired some help, and right about the time I was hiring help and going, okay, how are we going to expand this thing? How am I going to make this work? Right at that time, it was about 2020. I hired help in like January of 2020, if that tells you anything. If you weren't around in 2020, if you're a young thing watching this later on in the YouTube world, back in 2020, there was a global disease that meant that we could not gather together anymore. So all the people who had been ordering my sugar cookies for their events could no longer have events. So overnight, it was like I had these full books of orders that I'd been taking. And overnight, it went from all these orders to nothing, zero. And I issued a lot of refunds. I didn't collect on a lot of payments that would have been collected. And I just had a free calendar, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I had met this business coach. Oh, and I should mention, meanwhile, I had been doing classes on cookie decorating, just teaching people how to decorate cookies at a local place that my friend Misty owned. And they were going really well. I loved teaching people how to decorate sugar cookies. That was what I loved most out of anything I was doing in my business, was getting together in those big groups of women and teaching the actual how to decorate. I loved that more than I did actually making the cookies. But it was a great way to meet customers. And the cookies, you know, they kind of paid the bills. The classes were... they made good money too, don't get me wrong. The classes made good money, but the cookies were the bread and butter. They were what was the consistent stream, I guess. And I didn't have to leave my house to do that. That was what was so nice. I could work on it while my babies napped, and then people could come to my house to pick up cookies. I didn't have to leave. But for the classes, I did have to leave. I would have to plan in advance, like a 4 to 6 hour block, and I tried to do them on Saturdays because that's when my husband was home. But if he had to work, I had to line up childcare, and it was a little crazy trying to do the classes. But anyway, about that time, the world shut down, and I had been in touch with this business coach, and she was really, really sweet. She helped me a lot, and I met with her for an hour one day and felt like an absolute crazy person because I paid her $100 for an hour of her time. And I just remember thinking, man, this is insane. This is wild to think that I'm paying someone $100 for an hour of their time. And like, y'all, I got a sale the other day. I had a sale come through where someone had bought Cookie Classroom for $100. And it's like, that happens sometimes monthly. Not always, but sometimes monthly. Sometimes I get multiple sales a day come through that I see. Sometimes my YouTube payment is $200 a month. It just depends on the month and the season, but Lord, I got so much return on investment for that. But anyway, I sat down with her, and she said, I think you need to make a course because you've been doing these classes. You love them. I think, oh, I got out of focus there. I think you need to do an online course. And I had never taken an online course. Well, I take that back. I had done Business Boutique with Christy Wright. So I had done online courses in college, and I had done this Christy Wright Business Boutique thing, but I didn't really know what building one looked like. I thought you had to have like whole software teams to do that. So she told me about this site called Thinkific where you could upload your videos and sell your courses. So I started learning about that. And basically, to summarize, because this was a very long journey, this was 4 years of work. And to summarize 4 years of work into a much shorter YouTube video time frame, I started making videos on YouTube, and I started selling online cookie decorating classes. Beans, no, come here. Okay, this is Beans, and he can't keep his paws off the camera, so he's going to be on camera with me. I started selling these cookie decorating classes through the YouTube videos. So it went a little something like this. Someone would watch my YouTube video. At the end of that video, or somewhere in that video, I would mention, hey, I have this group on Facebook where I do live classes. Or I have this free download that you can get. One of them was like a piping download. It was a PDF where people could go and like practice their piping skills, basically. Let's frame me up here. Okay, there we go. People could go and practice their piping skills in this PDF. And they would enter their email to get that PDF, and then they would become part of my email list. And that email list, 5 years later, is still collecting emails, is still out there, and people, new friends, are still joining my email list today because of those invitations and those things that I put out there all those years ago on YouTube. And the more I learned about YouTube, the more I discovered SEO. SEO is basically, it's search engine optimization, and it's a very complex topic. But to boil it down, you can find out what people are searching for. You can make content and make products that meet them kind of where they're searching on that first page of search results, and direct them to you and the solutions that you provide that might help them. So that for me looks like I made a video about how to pipe flowers, and it gave a little simple intro. And then I made a class about how to make really pretty royal icing flowers, because that's kind of what I was known for here locally, was the pretty flower cookies for weddings. And that just took off, and I started getting a ton of people coming to take my flower class. And then eventually I put all my individual classes together into a big course called Cookie Classroom. And God led me to, and I know I hesitate when people say God led me to something, I always go, did he though? Or was that just something you wanted to do? But this couldn't have been anything but the Lord, because it was absolutely crazy and it didn't make any business sense. I was praying over my business and trying to decide what to do, because I wasn't getting a lot of sales at the time, and things were just really hard, and I was pouring a ton of time into my business and not seeing very much return at all. And all of a sudden it just popped into my mind, and the only way I can describe it is, you know, that still small voice when you feel like God's talking to you. It just popped into my mind, hey, Cookie Classroom should be a pay what you can offer. You should offer it at multiple price points, and people should be able to get in there and learn cookie decorating, whether it's for comfort, because I had a lot of people message me and say, you know, I'm going through a time of grief right now, or I'm going through a trauma or a trial, and your videos have been really comforting to me. They've been a nice creative outlet. It was almost like art therapy for a lot of people. And it was like, goodness, I'm gonna try not to get choked up. It was like he told me, make that available and accessible for people, even if they only have $1. And I doubted him. I said, God, I won't make any money if people can buy it for $1. They'll only pay $1. If they have the option to only pay $1, that's all they'll pay. And I really doubted him, and I doubted people's generosity. Long story made even longer by yours truly. I doubted that anybody would actually buy it at that pay what you can price point. I was like, there's no way that this is going to help my business. The only logic I could see in it was, okay, well maybe some people will hear me talk about Jesus in this course, and maybe, you know, maybe this is just the eternal impact piece of my business, and maybe I need something else to make money, which at that point I had created the Cookie Career course, which was a course about how to start and grow a business decorating sugar cookies. So it wasn't like Cookie Classroom was my only offer, but at that time it was my main offer. It was my money maker. If I made money in my business, which wasn't always a given, if I made money in my business, it was because of Cookie Classroom. I wasn't getting a lot of sales on Cookie Career Academy. So when he said offer this for $1, I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And I had so much hesitation, but the prompting continued. So I finally yielded and said, okay, if this is what you want, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to offer this class for $1. And I created all these different price points. So you can get it for $1. You can choose to pay $5, $10, $20, $25, up to like $300. And I have had people buy it for $300 since then, which is more than I ever charged for it before this. Take a breath. But I've made more money selling that class for $1, and then people getting to know my teaching style and buying other products from me in addition to that. So they may have only bought Cookie Classroom for $1, but then they might buy Cookie Career Academy for $50 a month, $200 for the whole course, and you know, then that person becomes a lifetime customer. So all of that is happening. Like, all of that was set up 3, 4, and 5 years ago, and I don't actively manage it anymore. The last time I actually made a cookie video was March of last year, and it was because I was making cookies for my great-grandmother's 100th birthday, which I'll probably get to make again in March, and I'm so excited because she's going to be turning 101. She's amazing. Anyway, ADHD. I get a little distracted sometimes, if y'all can't tell. But I said I was going to be real with y'all. I said I was going to do real life on social media going forward. But that is my story. That is how I started helping people build their websites, grow their audiences. That's how I got basically now called into helping moms build their businesses, because now I live this amazing, incredible life that I'm so grateful for because of... Get Beans back away from the chicken, please. Yeah, we don't want Beans in front of the chicken. Yeah, Beans needs to go to a different room while Mama cooks, please. Thank you. This amazing, incredible, chaotic...
Where's my book?
Where did you see it last?
It was just, you liked it when I saw the orange down there.
Oh, are you looking for the arrow that you brought to me this morning?
Yeah.
It is in the playroom, and I believe I set it on the chair beside my desk. This amazing, incredible, chaotic, wonderful life where I get to spend most of my time, the vast majority of my time is spent with my boys, enjoying watching them grow up. And I get to contribute to our family, even though, you know, some months it's more than others. It isn't a, you know, I'm out earning my husband and I retired him from his work kind of income. That's not what this first business that I set up is. But there have been years where it paid for Christmas, and there have been years where, and there have been so many times where I didn't know how a certain thing was going to work out, or I didn't, you know, maybe things were a little tight, and then someone came and bought Cookie Classroom, and it was just like, thank you, God, you know. I had that product out there, and someone was able to buy it, and God provided for our family in unexpected ways, you know, where I hadn't actively promoted it in 3 years, but here was someone buying it, even though there was really no rhyme or reason other than them finding a video on YouTube. All these years later, I've gotten to do a TEDx talk. I've gotten to help other business owners with their social media, their marketing, their web design, all that good stuff. All because of, you know, this little cookie business that I started here in my kitchen all those years ago. And yes, it is so trying sometimes. It is so sanctifying to be a mama in business and to balance all the things that come along with. I reached the maximum recording limit. I'm going to have to edit this down. If y'all can't tell, I'm a talker. But all these things that I never could have dreamed of happening in my life. I mean, I didn't see myself speaking on a TEDx stage when I was dreaming of becoming a teacher. I really didn't. I didn't see myself doing any of this when I was younger, and when I was like, you know, I'll just make cookies for a little while and see where it goes. And now I am a YouTube strategist and consultant, and I teach Christian women in business to utilize YouTube to grow their businesses and their visibility. And like, when I started making my first YouTube video, I didn't know how to check the views for like a month. And when I went to that first meeting with Celeste, the first business coach I went to, she was like, so what have been your marketing tactics? I'm like, I just put stuff everywhere. I just put videos all over. I even put something on YouTube the other day. She said, well, what kind of views do you have on YouTube? And I went, I don't know. And we went and checked, and one of my videos had like 15,000 views. Don't know how, don't know why, but she said, you need to pour into that. And women like her, women like Cassie Kitzmiller, my other business coach, women like Andrea Anderson. I've been in her Bigger Bolder Business Challenge this week. I was on her podcast recently, the Business Detox, so good. Women like that encouraging me are 100% the reason, that and just God's grace and my wonderful family. That's the reason I've kept going. That's the reason why I was, you know, visiting with my grandmother today and going to the Piggly Wiggly and still earned $75 in a day. And that's just one day's example. That's not every day. Some days it's more, some days it's less. But those wonderful, amazing opportunities and blessings, and the fact that I get to be home with my babies now and homeschooling them and being a part of their day-to-day life and making silly little movies with them and watching them play with their Magna-Tiles as I go back and forth through the house doing laundry and dishes, and being present for my family and having 3 meals a day at home together, sometimes around the table, sometimes on the couch. It all started with that first business. It started with posting on Facebook and saying, hey, I make cookies now if you want to buy them. And I was so nervous for that first post. But if anything, this video is one, to tell my story, but also to encourage you that if you have a business on your heart, if you have some way that you think, hey, I might can serve people, I might could earn some money for my family, that being a mama is the most important thing to me, and I want to do it simultaneously, then this video is just to encourage you and say that you can do it. It is possible. And don't let anyone tell you different.